This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Find all my work at mjmunoz.com. Visit the podcast page for show notes and links. Remember to like, share, and comment to help me grow. This is Swinging Through Comics, episode 74. Sorry. I'm analyzing Radiant Black, issue 6, entitled Red. Radiant Black, issue 6, originally released July 21st, 2021. The writer is KYLE HIGGINS. CHERISH CHEN is also credited as a writer. I'm guessing they split the responsibilities. The artist is DARKO LAFUENTE. The colorist is Miguel Muerto, I should say. The letterer is Becca, Carey. And the cover, the main cover, cover A, which is the one I have, is done by DARKO LAFUENTE with Miguel Muerto. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the negative stuff. My negative, I have one negative thing. It's art inconsistencies. And the reason I say that is because the art is inconsistent. There are some spots where the art is very good. There are some spots where the art is not so great. The art style is different, and it's interesting that as the... I noticed there's a shift in like the palette, in the color palette, and there's a shift in the, I don't know, harshness of the lines or the quality of the lines, and we have like almost a soft, idealized, reminiscent way that the faces are presented and the world, the environment is presented, and it changes over the course of the comic, and that's interesting. So I guess really I'm just going to say art inconsistencies are a big problem. Sometimes Satomi's hands are like delicate and feminine and normal, and sometimes they are kind of bulgy and grotesque and like very much like man hands. Like, it's very odd how the attention to detail is shifted, and especially because at the end there's a final image where she well, also the faces look very inconsistent, so that's another problem. But there's besides the softness versus the sharpness, which I think there's like idealized world or idealized, situation, we're pretending everything's okay, so everything's kind of rosy and glossed over and kind of blurry or whatever. That's one thing, which I can chalk up to an artistic choice. But then at still during one of those scenes, even while stuff's getting a little rougher or whatever, when Satomi and Owen are at home, where like I said, she's got these crazy hands, but then a scene or two later, or about a scene later, they're fighting. I guess it's 2 scenes later, they're fighting, and she has much more normal hands, and so does he. And then at the end, their faces totally look different from what they've looked like throughout this entire comic. I think his build is different, so it's just very strange, and the inconsistencies really, really bother me. On the positives, there are art choices which are being made, which, like I said, I think the palette shifted from being soft and warm and kind of, I don't know, like washed out, just to kind of convey that things were being covered over. They're having like a Thanksgiving dinner with Satomi's family, and Satomi and Mark are living in sin together. They're shacked up, and they're engaged or whatever. They're planning a wedding, and anyway, so the issue is that things are not good between them, and they're kind of pretending that they're good, and they still like anyway, as you get like out of her family area and into the car, like the color palette totally changes. They're outside, it's nighttime, whatever, they're leaving, but it gets harsher, and then it keeps getting harsher as they're talking about their problems, and you had like very well formed kids and older people and stuff, and then you have like as they get home, there's this guy looming in a suit, just a regular suit from the bank, but he's looming at their front door, and he's kind of like shapeless, and it's almost like he's shady and inconsistent, but in a good way, or like he's almost like blending in the background, like he's lurking in the shadows. He and the shadows have merged together, and I think that's pretty cool, and that's a good thing. But then and there's like a lot of good expressiveness in the faces. And then finally at the end, once you see, once Satomi's coming home after robbing the bank as Radiant Red, like she's sharp and defined, and he's sharp and defined, and like the color palette has changed, and like the lines are a lot more like what you would normally see in the comics. So it's almost like it was going from memory, and things being blurred in this certain place, of, I don't know, nostalgia or like a dreamlike state, and then it's like, no, this is cold hard reality. Satomi's robbed a bank. She's so desperate because this man that she's with, who she's entrusting her life to, and so much more, he is unable to control himself, and he is giving into his desires for gambling or whatever. He says, I'm sick, and we can talk about addiction and things like that at another date. But she's like waking up from that dream, and it's like cold hard reality. It's, you know, comics dramatic. There's money flying everywhere as she busts through the door with these you know, bags of cash that she's stolen. So I don't know, that's very interesting. Like, I like those art choices. I just don't like, if the inconsistencies hadn't been there, I would have been fine with it, and I would have really liked it. It was nice to see the change in the art, both stylistically, like, well, both from the main comic, and because this to me is more of a side issue. Yeah. Anyway, this to me is more of a side issue. But anyway, it's nice to see the departure with the different artists, what they can do, and I like seeing their range. I just wish there had been more of a reason for the range as far as like the faces. Like, at some points, Satomi's face is very round, but then it's also she has like a more, I guess, slender face, you could say, in some instances too, and it keeps going back and forth, and I just don't really get that. But again, the art choices are good. The emotional roller coaster that I went on with these two was interesting. Like, I don't know who these characters are. I'm just getting introduced to them basically, and I like how it's presented that they're with family and everything's good, and it's just as you get away from family until they're alone, and she's just staring up at the ceiling in bed as Owen's, you know, rolled over asleep, full of lies. She doesn't know this, but he's been lying to her this whole time in a way more profound way than at first you thought was possible or was true, and slowly his lies get more and more revealed until it turns out that their whole relationship, well, I'm just gonna say their whole relationship is on founded on lies. And he's like this, like, it's funny too, because in the memories he looks like a really big buff guy. Like, he's a lot taller than her, which, by the way, at one point she punches, this is the inconsistencies I'm bothered by. In one panel, she punches something at like shoulder level. Like, if you just threw a punch straight out, you'd hit the wall in front of you, right? If you're standing in front of a wall at your shoulder level. And then she walks out, and the punch is like, his head is in the frame, and she's going through the door, and I think they probably moved the punch up next to the door, in order, above his head, in order to show it, but it makes it so it's like way above her head. She would have had to like punch up, or jump up and punch in order to make that dent or mark on the wall from punching. Stuff like that. It's just like, you just don't show it then, or put it on another wall. It didn't have to be next to the door. You could have changed that somehow, planned it out better. That kind of stuff really gets me. But anyway, but then like at the end, she looks hardened and tough and strong and capable, and he had been yelling about her, like, you don't know the real world, you're just a small town teacher, and all you have to deal with is these kids or whatever, and like, I deal with the banks and I'm doing all this. So the guy's a real jackass, right? So anyway, but then he's home looking wimpy and weak, like, sitting there sweating and drinking to deal with the problem, instead of not being a gambling addict. Sorry. He's not taking responsibility for things, and he, has been lying to her and stuff. So like, I'm on her side for sure and against this guy, but then again, she did just rob a bank. Like, she could just kind of let everything go and be like, look, I'm not even married to this guy. I didn't even know these a-holes, No, she could just say like, look, we're not married. Our asses aren't tied to each other. Like, you chose not to marry me for whatever reason, and I chose not to marry you. But, let's get out of this as clean as possible. I'm done with you. And, yeah, I'm not gonna let you, like, he stole her money too, like, he stole all her money because she had this college fund for, I don't know, a master's degree or whatever, graduate school, and he's like, you were never gonna do it anyway, so I just took your money. So, yeah, the guy's a real schmuck, and, I think she should leave him. But anyway, yeah, I like that emotional roller coaster. That was very good. That was excellent stuff. But in reflecting and thinking about it, I just wondered, is this going somewhere? Is this just kind of texturing her characters, or just giving us stuff? And I don't know. And as far as, is this recommended or not, I would say no. It doesn't really feel necessary to the rest of the story. Then again, Nathan and Marshall's slow build is really good after the fact. I almost dropped the series, though. I guess it's a high wire act that these guys are doing, or that Higgins is doing. I appreciate the boldness. That's definitely a good thing. But I would feel... I'd feel comfortable telling someone to just skip this issue if they had to pick and choose. So, yeah, I would definitely do that. I would just tell someone to skip the issue. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this issue. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I did want to give a final grade. I want to do this too. I want to give... Yeah, I'm just changing my format of how I do these analyses, so I'm still getting used to it. art, I'm going to give a 2.5 out of 5. I explained the reasons. There's a lot of inconsistencies, and although I do appreciate the choices. And the story, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Like, it's a solid story. It stands on its own pretty much, and it is a part of this larger, you know, Radiant Black universe or whatever, and that's good, but I don't know how it connects to the overall story, so I'm not going to give it that much more. But, like, it was a very effective story. It did what it was supposed to do, but I also want it to connect to the larger story going on, and I just don't see how it's doing that yet. So I'm gonna, you know, downgrade it. Otherwise, it'd be like a 4, because it was pretty good, very, very well told story. So, yeah, that's gonna be it, I guess. Yeah, that's it for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Thank you for your time and attention. I hope you enjoyed this. Check out my growing collections of analysis, art, and fiction. The bottom of the show notes might just feature a design relevant to the topic at hand. Click around and find out. You can also visit mjmunoz.com/support to see my latest designs and more. I welcome all forms of critique to improve my craft, so don't hold back any comments you have for me. I leave you with peace and blessings. This is MJ, signing out.